Thank you for listening to SoundWow'd. On this week's podcast, we're interviewing Zach Mano and Jerron Cosby, the leaders of the group Dissonant. Opening our podcast today is their cover of Towers by Bon Iver. Enjoy. Welcome to SoundWow'd, the only podcast bringing you the hottest up-and-coming SoundCloud artists straight to your ears. I'm your host, Tanner Mead. Our guests today are two artists taking vocal harmonies to the next level. With their cover of Cake by the Ocean reaching 400,000 listens, the leaders of the group, Dissonant, Zach Mano, and Jerron Cosby. Say hi, boys.
Hello!
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. Well, every episode we start with a piece by the group, and you guys just heard their cover of Towers by Bon Iver. Why don't you guys tell me about how you interpreted that song and your process for it?
It's a pretty interesting process that we go through. We pretty much solidified it over our past seasons. We go through the process of, one, reviewing, listening to the song, trying to come up with the concept for it. Then I'll take it and I'll start to apply different vocal harmonies, usually in the jazz world, trying to apply different types of jazz vocal harmonies, and it ranges anywhere from solo to duets to our 5-part harmony, which is what we're usually known for. And then we'll bring it into the studio, we'll start to record each part individually, and we'll multi-track it, and that's where I turn it over to Zach and his process.
Yeah, what I do is produce and engineer everything. Getting everyone together to record is always fun, and it's even better when we do something, we're really, really passionate about, which was definitely the case when we did Towers. We love Bon Iver and Justin Vernon's work overall, just like all the innovations, pushing the boundaries of like conventional music. And we tend to try and take popular music and interpret it in our own way, by adding our harmonies, and also having...
So do you do any original music, or is it all covers?
Well, up until just today, actually, we had only done covers, but we just released our first original song on SoundCloud today, and the music video's on its way within the next hour, probably. Yeah.
Great, and that's the name of that is Oblivion, correct?
Yeah, I think we're gonna hear a little bit of that later, but that was just...
Yeah, later on in this episode, we'll have a little preview.
That was just something I'd written. I write songs all the time, and we had been doing Dissonant, and I thought, this song might be an interesting fit. The message, what it was about, everyone seemed to kind of feel good about it, so we decided to take it on.
So is this sort of an indie process, or are you guys looking for representation, or do you have representation?
We definitely don't have representation now. We're definitely just working, in my basement, with a...
Plugging along.
Yeah, we do everything ourselves. I feel like, people up until now we've been a cover artist, so it's not really something that we've thought too much about, to seek representation. But anything that involves more people to hear what we do, I'm open to it. But
yeah.
You never know what's gonna happen.
Honestly, I think that we just really solidified who we are and found out what we do. we're still making decisions as we go along as to what our future is going to look like and what type of music we're going to cover or what type of music we're going to write in general. So I think that as we start to solidify ourselves as a group, that's when we'll start to move to a place where we're able to solidify, one, an audience, and two, try and put our music out there more regularly.
Yeah, like choice of song is like an interesting topic because our first song was Chandelier, and you know that established us as like kind of a group to cover pop songs, and you know we had a couple people like a pretty good success and good reception listening to that first cover. Like everybody liked our spin on the song, so we wanted to keep getting like as many people to listen as we could, so we like gravitated toward pop music. After that we did Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd, and you know, other things like Cake by the Ocean, which you mentioned, and this summer we did One Dance and Can't Stop the Feeling. But you know, that's the thing, is we recently have kind of gravitated towards something else, you know, because we find that just because we do a popular song doesn't necessarily mean we get more views. So we are now kind of in a place where we kind of just want to do whatever we want to do, you know?
So moving forward, are you thinking of only doing originals? Are you thinking of kind of fitting in your covers again, or are you trying to go in a whole new direction?
We're definitely not only going to do originals. Like we already have another cover that's going to be coming out soon. And, you know, that's the thing. We just kind of want to do whatever we really feel like it at the time, you know.
Whatever catches our ears, what we really are pulled to, because we found that our best work is done when we're not trying to please the audience, but just trying to please ourselves aesthetically.
And if that...
Yeah, kind of the artistic process that you have.
Yeah, if what catches our ear is something I've written, then so be it. If not... If it's something that we, you know, one of us brings to the others, like, oh man, you got to hear this song, then we'll do that. You know what I mean?
Do you ever write something that you feel is not fit for the group? Do you have any like drafts that you've kind of just trashed because you feel like, you know, this isn't us, or do you usually work it until it comes into? Well,
definitely, like
beating.
If I write, you know, a lot, and so. A lot of times they might fit different projects I'm involved in, or like just, you know, sit on my phone and never come to fruition for a while, you know. This particular one just was like, it seemed like it was a good fit for the group, so we went for it.
I can also say that about some of the songs that we find that are already done. If we listen to a song, we're like, "Ooh, it's a great idea." There's times where I might get into the middle of an arrangement, and then we'll have second thoughts about it, and then I just put that one to the side. I'm not one to really trash an arrangement, but I definitely do believe that if it's not a good fit for the time, I'll put it aside and maybe try and incorporate what I did in the last song into another one, or maybe just keep it aside for it if it's something that we want to reapproach in the future.
So when you're writing original music, it's got to be a little bit of a different process, right? Because it's a very harmony-based group, and so does that change the order? I know there's always the dispute of what comes first, the lyrics or the music. Does the music have to take precedence because it's harmony-based, or do you ever start with lyrics and then move that way?
Well, actually, it's kind of two separate things, because I had written this song, and like I kind of do that on my own, not even thinking about that this will be for the group, you know? Like it's just something I wrote. I didn't know it would be for Dissonant. But then once I showed Jerron and we thought, you know, maybe this could happen, then we started to talk about that, and Jerron then creates the harmonies around what I had written. The harmonies didn't exist in the original draft of the song. That's what Jerron brings to the group. And like, so I guess to answer the question though, like what comes first, lyrics or music? I mean, just kidding. I'm not going to answer the question because there is no answer really. I mean,
no one can answer.
I would either say they happen simultaneously, or to be honest, in this case, it was probably lyrics first, just because that's the idea that came.
Wow.
But there's certainly plenty of instances where I have the music and the chords first.
I think that one really inspires the other. It's no real planned out thing. It's just that sometimes Zach might be playing a melody on a guitar or any other instrument, and he'll be like, oh, let me play that back, and then he'll come up with lyrics for it, or maybe he'll just have lyrics, and then that inspires a melody in his head. So I think that there's no real strict process as to how he personally, or we personally, just approach songs in the way that we write things. It's more of spontaneous, and it's inspired by each other.
Okay, so you're sort of just one big creative ball of energy. Always inspired by each other.
One thing I can say that's kind of interesting about like me and Jerron's dynamic is like my mind works in like a very mathematical, like systematic way. So when I write, I write the song and I'm like, all right, Jerron, the chords are C sharp minor, A major 7, E, and then F sharp major 9. And he's like,
what?
Yeah. So,
which is strange because Jerron's the one writing the music. Essentially, if he's doing harmonies. So
right.
Jerron, if you're writing music without Zach's technical knowledge, how do you create? Like, what's your process in that regard?
It's funny, actually. Some people that personally have had an effect on me in the way that I write are not even popular artists at all. Like, my biggest inspiration is Eric Whitaker, who is a choral arranger and composer. He does a lot of things that he's into by ear also. I mean, he's very technical, of course, because he actually went to school for it. But a lot of the stuff is all by ear, and I found out through research on different types of art forms, like modern artists, it's really all about what you feel in the moment and what you hear in that moment. So that's how I approach my music. One, because I don't have a strong background in music theory or theoretical approaches to things, so I just really base what I know and what I write off of ear and what sounds good to me at that moment.
So would you say that, because it's interesting that your process is purely like spontaneous almost, where it's creation as you're creating, and would you say that helps your process? I mean, I feel like for like a spontaneous kind of music writing like that, it could almost help with you're not burdened by like what's the major scales, what's the
here's the thing is
different scales.
The thing is, for me, like I could never do what Jerron does when he creates these vocal arrangements, because in a way I'm like trapped by the theory, because when I'm breaking a rule, I'm very aware of it, and so therefore I'm discouraged. Like, I don't want to break the rules. So if the chord is F sharp major 9, every harmony that I create will be in that chord. Whereas Jerron barely knows what that is.
Yes.
So therefore, like, the possibilities are much more endless and certainly keep me on my toes. Like, ooh, that sounds interesting. I never would have thought to do that, but in some way it actually works.
Do you ever kind of fact check what he does? Like, he'll bring you
sure.
some sort of idea, and then you'll be like, no, it should be this.
Yeah, definitely.
This
like,
is more correct.
Definitely. I'll tweak notes here and there, especially like towards the beginning. It was a lot more of like me, but I think that was for two reasons. One, I wasn't yet comfortable with that. Like I wasn't comfortable with that sound, and also Jerron's arrangements definitely improved overall.
I definitely think that in the beginning. Also, when we first approached this, my mindset is that I was going for a completely vocal jazz type thing. So my head was in a different place, and I think that over time I started to mold or blend into what we wanted to create, and also I had the time to create these different arrangements and hear what I was doing wrong, things that I liked, things that were interesting, and I was able to improve that way. So now when we do arrangements, I'm a lot more, I don't know. I think that I approach it in a different way now. I mean, I'm still very spontaneous and very in the moment, but I think that I'm still aware of our sound. I'm aware of what can be done and what can't be done just based off of what I've written before. And also when we're recording, there's still times where we have to change chords or change different phrases because I still don't have that theoretical knowledge. But at the end, I think that's what makes me and Zach a good team for Dissonant, because we always are able to pick up each other's slack, and we're able to melt together to create what Dissonant is.
So you talked about sound. How would you define Dissonant's sound? If you had to define it in one sentence, what would you say your sound is, if that's possible?
Very interesting, actually. I can't really define us as one specific thing because we try so hard not to fall into a commercial sound. So,
the thing is,
so what's commercial sound to you? A kind of a pop, like you say you want to move away from doing the kind of mainstream popular music that's going on. Is that what you're saying? You don't want to fall into that kind of realm? You're trying to be more of your own thing?
I think so, because
it's not even anything. It's not anything against popular music at all. Like, in fact, it's not really a matter of like the genre we want to do. It's just a matter of us thinking like instead of picking songs because we think they'll get more views or plays, let's just pick a song because we want to do it. Maybe that song's on the radio, or maybe it's not, but it doesn't matter anymore.
Exactly.
Because like it's an interesting point, is that we really find it difficult to crack the code and break through the crowd when it comes to YouTube or SoundCloud, because our Cake by the Ocean cover got, like you said, like 400,000 plays, and it keeps growing, which is great, but that's the only one where that happened. Then we were like, Can't Stop the Feeling is huge on the radio right now. It's on the rise. Let's do that. We did it, and I think, we're not even past like 400 plays. So
it's kind of, and that is one of the things about SoundCloud, is something can go viral, and a lot of people won't even, it's right on your playlist, so you won't even go and look at their other songs. It's just kind of like in that mix of,
and YouTube is even worse. I mean, our first video got 8,000 views or something like that, and then after that we never quite reached it. Our next one got maybe like 3,000, and then our latest one, it didn't even break 300 yet. It's we don't know how it's really hard to figure out how to break through the crowd. And so when we started to find that popular songs didn't necessarily turn into more views, that's when it was like, then let's just do whatever we want, because like we really enjoyed doing Towers. Like, I mean, when we were creating that arrangement and like sound, we were just
invested in it.
We really were. And like the original song that we have, I mean, I can only imagine how few people are gonna hear that. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, that's just what we wanted to do, and we think we created a cool sound. So
it's about the music for you guys.
Exactly.
It's less about the kind of
the stardom,
popularity that it gets.
Yeah.
But which is a good mindset to have in the music industry.
And I think that's going to be something like interesting for you to ask the artists coming up in like this podcast, because I want to know, like, what do they do to try and break through the crowd? Like, like,
exactly. Yeah.
So tell me, because I mean, some people might be listening to this thinking, well, I haven't even gotten 10,000 listens on any of my stuff, but you managed to get 400,000. So you say you don't know, but have you narrowed it down to anything that you know of that kind of sets you out from the crowd?
Well, one thing I definitely know is, like, we have worked hard to like establish who we are and be really confident in that. We're not I feel like we're no longer like deciding or just like molding to like whatever we think will sell. We're just us, and that is important, even though it might not immediately create success, but like that's just important for you to know exactly who you are, or else nobody else will be able to find you because you're everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a big thing that traps artists nowadays. They get pulled into the mainstream world because they don't know who they are, and that's what kills their career so quickly. Because once they get sucked into that void of just being the same, somebody can be like, "Oh, this is a new artist," but they're still putting out the same music, so they'll leave what you're doing to go hear what this other artist is doing because it's the same thing. If you don't know who you are, you're not able to define yourself and define your music and make it something that catches people's ear.
So okay. Well, why don't we go back a little bit? Why don't you tell me, how did Dissonant start? And just take me through, the beginning phase of who you guys were.
When we started out, we just wanted to do a cover of a song that we liked, which was Chandelier, and we wanted to incorporate all the voices we had and all the jazz vocal training we all had, because we all participated in jazz choir at our high school, and Jerron had this background in arranging. But the interesting thing is, as far as getting the members together, which right now we I'll tell you, we have Carly Sangiovanni singing soprano most of the time, Grace Mano, me, Zach Mano, Jerron, and Jake Moskowitz, and we've also had Taylor Arney and Noah Mano. As you can tell, there's a lot of Manos. My family.
Family business.
Yeah, but so we've ranged from 5 to 7 members in any given song, and we kind of treated it like a project with a fluid number of people in it at any time. I feel like now we've kind of settled at 6, 5 singers and a percussionist, but before we would kind of switch out different singers depending on what the song called for.
Okay, yeah. So how'd you come up with the name Dissonant? It's pretty out there. It's definitely one of those music terms, you Mr. Type A.
It's actually really funny how he came up with the name. Actually, I believe I was at a party. I have done a lot of study on dissonant music because that's what really caught my ear. My style is definitely in the field of more modern work and more unsettling chordal progressions. So that's something that I was really hooked on, and I would try and get everybody involved in it and bring it in and introduce it in new ways. But I believe I was at a party and somebody said something about dissonant. I believe we started talking about the topic of modern music and where it's headed, where it's at right now. And it's just something that always stuck with me, the word dissonant, and it's something that I thought would be really interesting to bring into a group setting. So after we finished our first cover, I was like, yeah, I think that dissonant is something that could really work for us, because that's just the way that I was arranging. That's the it seemed to be a group consensus that was something that we all loved and that we all wanted to hold on to and keep a part of all the music that we continue to do in the future.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what dissonance actually is, it's like when you have a chord, if you have a major triad, right? You have 3 notes that are consonant with each other. They are not clashing. They're happy and they sound good together. But if you introduce say a major 7th into that chord, what you have is 2 notes that are right next to each other, and they clash. And if you just played those 2 notes by themselves, they don't sound good together. So it's called dissonance, because it's distasteful. But surrounded by the rest of the notes, hidden within the chord, or exposed however you want to do it, it builds that dissonance creates tension and allows Jerron to create motion in the arrangement by taking and adding or subtracting dissonance at different given points. So a lot of times the climax of the song will have the most dissonance, and then we'll head into, say, a chorus with more consonants.
Great. So that kind of feeds back into the creative aspect of yourself. So would you say most of your harmonies are based on this concept of dissonance and kind of chords clashing together?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I definitely believe so.
Well, why don't we take a short break? We'll preview your original song, Oblivion, and then we'll talk a little bit about that after we listen.
Okay.
All the poison that will leave your home destroyed. You look the other way when you don't know what to say. If you don't change, we'll never live to see another day. Ooh, take when you should give. And ooh, it's a dangerous state we're in. I've woken up to you.
A preview of Oblivion by Dissonant. Why don't you tell me about what the song's about and what kind of inspired you to write the song?
Literally the worst question ever. Well, you know, that's the thing is when I used to write, I used to think about that like hard and like create like very concrete stories. But lately I've just, I've been in the mindset to just kind of write. And so that is a hard question for me to actually answer.
I think a lot of people are misinformed. I think the idea of writing from personal beliefs works well with a lot of people, and I think it makes for a lot of great music. I think that the idea of writing to write and letting the creative process just flow, I think that's kind of Dissonant style, if I'm understanding correctly, with Duran's music style. That's kind of just a creative flow, and then your writing style, Zach, just kind of matches that in the just spontaneous.
Like, it's definitely, writing the song, writing any song for me has become kind of just an exercise and kind of just like learning to be okay with that, like just letting ideas flow. And
so it's hard for you to kind of let loose.
Oh,
like
definitely.
That,
like, I mean, my main career objective is audio engineering, and and that's a little more, in my opinion, like type A. I can be very specific about my mix and like adjust very subtle things, but in writing, it's such a bigger picture kind of thing. So when I wrote the song, I really tried to think about, bigger picture. Just don't get hung up on the details, write the song,
Great. So in terms of the future, where do you see Dissonant going, and where do you guys hope to be in like 5-10 years,
It's really hard to say. I don't think we have that type of goal for Dissonant. I think that we just became comfortable with the fact that we're going to start doing things that we love, things that we're truly passionate about. So I think it's less about what we see in the future and more about how we feel in that moment for any specific song.
Yeah, we we kind of operate in seasons. So like, because we go to college, and so when we're back for winter, we'll do as much content as we can. And when we're back for the summer, so it's really, it's hard to say what we're going to be doing next time we're all back together, but we just, whenever we're together, it's not even so much about, that's another reason why we're so okay with doing what we want and not worrying about getting somewhere or getting views, because it's just us like enjoying our time with friends and like creating stuff that we enjoy to do. And so like, it's less about the outcome and more about the process and the product,
Okay. So I'm guessing you guys are still, if Dissonant, becomes, kind of fades away, you guys will always be writing music, I'm guessing, because it's a big part of your life, and it seems that you guys work very well together.
Absolutely. I'll work with Jerron any day. And
Yes.
we really do work well together, We couldn't do what we do with Dissonant without one another, so that will last forever. Dissonant, I don't plan on Dissonant fading away either. It's not that we're all going to go, separate ways, and it's just whenever we happen to be able to be together, it's just something that we'll do. Yeah. But if the case is that doesn't happen for a couple months, that's what it is, but it won't fade away.
Kind of taking things at your own pace.
It won't fade away. It'll just be at an unconventional pace, because
Exactly.
we got to do what we want to do and when we're able to do it.
Dissonant, I believe
Great.
Dissonant is so ingrained in us that it's not even like, because we don't have the goal of trying to get big or trying to reach for a certain place of stardom or anything like that. It's so ingrained in us that it becomes what we do when we're just together hanging out. So Dissonant is less of a musical venture as opposed to just a hangout session. Dissonant is just what we do when we hang out, and I think that's what keeps us so strongly invested in it.
Great. Well, I wish you guys the best, and keep creating, and keep posting stuff, because I think if you hit it once, I think you guys can hit it again.
I believe that too. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on.
Yes. Thank you.
Of course. Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing from you guys again, as you two are designated co-hosts whenever I'm, in need of a helping hand. So you guys will hear Zach and Jerron, I'm guessing, as we go throughout this podcast. But check out Zachary Mano's page on SoundCloud. I'll have a link in the description. But yeah, thanks guys, and we are gonna sign off playing the rest of Oblivion to give you guys another look at it. Thanks for listening, and tune in